Welcome back to A Celtic State of Mind. I'm Paul John Dykes, and this week I'm delighted to be joined by Paddy Gunning, Marc Macmaster and Stevie Murray. Welcome to Barras Art and Design, gents. I've got a great lineup. Paddy Gunning, musician, TikTok star, Marc Macmaster, musician and a TikTok star, and we've also got Stevie Murray the third. I think you're Stevie Murray the third in terms of Celtic, Stevie.
Celtic, yeah.
And you're involved with, we were just talking about this, the oldest football podcast potentially in the world.
Allegedly.
Is that a myth?
No, apparently that's true. At the time it came out in 2006, it was very infancy of the internet and podcasts and stuff. And I have to say I was involved at the very start, but I came on board shortly after.
You couldn't have got it being in the islands right enough. You wouldn't have got it. We're just getting it now, like.
I would just say as well, Matt, we always seem ahead of the curve, Celtic fans, when it comes to like media, fanzines, podcasts like Stevie here at my left. I never knew what a podcast was when I appeared on your podcast. I never listened to them.
Right.
I had no idea. That was like maybe 5-6 years into the Celtic Underground. So
I'm still not sure what a podcast is. Sometimes you'll go, is that a podcast? And they'll say, no, that's a show or whatever. And you go, right.
that's right. Because Gary Neville spoke about this other week on the Overlap. He got a podcast award. He goes, I'm not even sure of what a pod. I always thought a podcast was listening.
So that,
audio.
I have from that.
That's right.
And then you started seeing them on YouTube and I was like, so am I a podcaster? You know what I mean? Like, if you're talking to somebody or can you date yourself? It's like, it's one of the things I think that people just attach something, they go, that's a podcast.
I think if you're sat at home, you just got a camera in front of you, and then somebody says, oh, I like your podcast. I didn't even know it was a podcast. You just were talking to a camera.
I know. I wonder if it's a certain length of time then.
Ah.
Sorry, what can I get got off here?
But I'm not with you. I thought it was just audio. Yeah, at the beginning, I thought it was just audio, so I would just listen to a podcast. I didn't like it.
The great thing about the internet in general, in the podcasts and stuff, was it means that fans can do their own thing.
Yeah.
So there is the reliance on the mainstream media anymore. That in terms of the newspapers, it's all but died. And even when you think the radio stations, then there's people who would rather watch Acsom or Celtic Underground to get their information about Celtic rather than listen to the stuff that they've listened to for years.
We've always known they've had an agenda though, and it's so obvious, particularly going into like the summer months when they're throwing grenades at Celtic or Rangers to get a bite, and we're going to get that all the way through the summer. But I think it's important to look back on the season we've just had and look ahead to the summer and beyond. Paddy, TikTok star, how do you become a TikTok star? I've just kind of started using TikTok.
I'm not a TikTok star, obviously. I've just started putting videos on TikTok, but I'm not kidding on in the last like kind of few months or whatever, because I always thought it was like, people would say, oh, I'm big on TikTok, and I'm like, aye, but that doesn't apply here. I thought it was like maybe wee guys dancing or something like that, put it on, so I would never, like, I thought it'd be like people in China watched it, so when people say they're big on TikTok, I'd go, aye, but nobody for China's got to come to any of my gigs, so what's the point of me going on TikTok? So I was putting things on Instagram, and then just, I always had the Instagram today to kind of promote the music. So if I was playing a gig in your pub, then I would put it on. And if I had a few followers, they would maybe know where I was playing, could come down. But then what I was doing was, so now you get the reels and posts, so they stay on forever. And then you get the stories. So I used to put on, I'm not really into social media at all, right? And I'm quite a private person when it comes to social media. And obviously know my pals and know we use, but just when people I don't know are watching or whatever, I'd kind of watch it, but I'd be quite kind of guarded about how much I would give away. So the good thing about the stories was that they all just disappeared after like 24 hours.
Right.
So I would feel a lot more relaxed about putting things on my stories, because I knew it doesn't matter, nobody's going to see it. If anybody's coming in to see if they're going to book me for their wedding or whatever, then they would be going on to my posts, with my posts and my reels that are there. So I was putting funny things on my stories, and then kind of more serious things and more music things on my reels. But then at Christmas there, I think it was just, I changed it about, and I goes, the stories were going doing well, and everybody was always commenting on them, that they were enjoying the stories, that was funny and all that. So I was going, I have always been able to kind of make people laugh. It's always it's all kind of, it's been something that it wouldn't be a surprise to people to say, oh, Paddy's been funny on the internet. They'd go, oh, he always tried to be funny in like school and then off through life kind of thing. So I then started just putting the stuff on that I used to put on as stories. I started putting them on as reels, and then the stuff on as reels I now put on as stories kind of thing. And that seemed to then just kind of grow a bigger following. I think it was probably because I was putting more on then as well, rather than just putting a reel on a week or whatever of music. Then I was just start putting more kind of things that I wasn't thinking too much about and just putting on, and then a few of them kind of went well, and then it just kind of leaned into it a wee bit more.
What about yourself though, Mark? Because you go online and I don't even know if it takes any effort, but you know how to wind up Rangers fans.
Do you know what?
You bam them right up.
There's so many people say that, but I don't think it's hard. It's not hard. I just go in there and I speak the truth. But I mean, I kind of started like Paddy as well. I started years ago. I think it was about 4 or 5 years ago. I went on to TikTok, and I was basically talking about self-improvement. That's how it all got going. But I had my Celtic top on, so that got comments from the other side of the city, obviously. But I kind of ignored it. Didn't think much of it. I was still going down to the games and everything with my son. Didn't really talk about Celtic that much, but talked about self-improvement and where that got me to starting 2 businesses and doing different things like that, and how changing my mindset got me to do the things that I've always wanted to do in my life. So I started doing that, and when I was doing that and I was going down my FYP page, I seen that every other second person was saying the same things as I'm saying. So I was like, I'm going to mix this up a bit. I'm going to be a wee bit more controversial. So I thought, I'm going to start talking about Celtic, because that is going to split opinion massively. But not just that, it's just, I wanted to go on, talk about something that I was passionate about. I was passionate about positive thinking and pushing forward in your life. But I was also passionate about Celtic, being a season ticket holder for years. So I thought, right, I'll just start doing stuff like that. Then the Rangers fans start coming on, biting onto it, and I thought, oh, I'm quite quick off the mark, so I'll give you it back. So I gave it back, and then it just becomes light-hearted. Anytime I speak to a Rangers fan, I've met a few of them in Glasgow and that as well. Sometimes I get glared at, and other times they're all right. And they'll say, it's light-hearted part of me. You know what I mean? It's light-hearted part. Yeah, and that's the way it should be. It's up to you which way you want to take it. But you can't come on keyboard warriors and give it all to me and not expect to get it back. And all I'll do is I've got the balls to stand in front of a camera and say it, whereas everybody will sit behind a camera and then into their phone. Aye, that's it. And the thing is, always try and be quite light-hearted with it as much as possible, but get my point across. And if you can take it, you can take it. And the way I see it, that a lot of the ones, if it's winding you up, then that's on you. It's not on me. Like that's on you, and that's the way I see it. But I just see it as a bit of fun. I see it as a bit of fun. But no, it's good.
I enjoy it. I mean, I'm just getting into TikTok because obviously you want to kind of share it on as many platforms as you can, the Acsom thing. Twitter, I would say, is pretty toxic. What's it like on TikTok? What's the vibe? Is it toxic, or is it a wee bit more of a community?
I don't know about your experience, but I think for me it depends. Sometimes it can be fine, and other times, what I do now, I'll go down the comment section a wee bit. If I've got like I done one there not that long ago that went pretty viral about us stealing Simply the Best off them. I don't know if you've seen it, but I've done that, and that went.
People were sharing it to me on WhatsApp. Yep,
it went quite viral, and it just seemed to be a lot of Celtic supporters at the start, which was fine, like that comment back, and then the further you go down, it's pure hatred. But I take it in the chat. I've got quite thick skin. You know what I mean? It is what it is. Say what it is that you've got to say. But all you're doing, I've just put a video up there not that long ago, and saying, I think I said to you before, I tell people, I take a creator fund. I never used to until all you lot started commenting. Never used to take a creator fund. Now I do. So every time that you're commenting, and you're interacting with my videos, it's getting pushed out to loads and loads and loads more people, which means there's more money coming in my bank. Might not be a lot, but there's money coming in my bank. As soon as you say that, I done that in a video the other day, and they all stop. But I'll get it again.
Because they can't help themselves.
Can't help it.
Cannot. They're easy to wind up. I think football fans are generally. Going kind of old school, Stevie, I think I kind of got to know you probably through fans forums like Kerrydale Street, KDS, and then you start writing books about Celtic. And to my knowledge, you've written 2. Any plans to write any more?
There was always a plan to write one about the decade of the 80s, you know, for the 1st of January 1980 to the 31st of December 1989, and just include everything in it. It's just getting the you know, yourself, it's finding the time and the inclination to do it. But that's certainly the plan. I would like to do that because I don't think that's particularly been done yet. The hard thing about writing a book is picking something maybe that somebody's not done before. It's no point in me writing a book about Lisbon, right? Number one, because there's more informed people than me, and number two, just about everything you know about Lisbon has come out. It'd be very, very difficult to find something new that's happened about the Lisbon Lions. So in terms of doing I actually had the title, it was Celtic in the 80s, a decade of missed opportunities. which just sums up the decade, because 2 or 3 times we built ourselves into great positions and we blew it every time.
Yeah.
So-
That'd be right up my street. Here's a Lisbon Lions book that's not been written from the perspective of the wives, the lionesses. It's never ever really been spoken about, you know, Agnes Johnston and all these.
Well, do you know what? I did a podcast with Kathleen Murdoch, around about 2016, and I haven't heard. Kathleen was on Twitter, and I haven't heard her for a long while, which worries me a wee bit, because I hope she's okay. But some of the stories she told was great. The funniest one was when they went to America in 1966. The team were away for like 6 or 7 weeks, and she said, "They're all young men. We're all just married, right?" And she goes, "So, you know, without being crude with the day, but you know, seeing your wife for like 6 or 7 weeks." And she goes, "It was amazing by the end of that season." She goes, "About eight of the team had kids. And they're all the same age.
They're all the same age.
They're all the same age."
Yeah, that's what it's all about. Team building, team morale. We're going to be looking back. It obviously didn't end well, the season, of course. But we're going to be looking at some of the high points. And I was saying earlier on, you win a double. A double's always good. I'd start off a season, Paddy, I think, right, you need to win the league. Cup would be nice. Progress in Europe. That's kind of like my ambition every season. What about yourself? Is that similar?
Aye. Obviously, your ambition is to, if you win everything, then that's great. And then you just kind of see how the season plays out. And then you just kind of make changes to what you expect or what you would hope for, kind of based on realistically what's happening on the park and who's available, what injuries and all that come up. But I'm the same. Like, I think, like, if you win the league, for me, it would even just be winning the league and making memories in Europe even. Do you know what I mean? Like, if you can make progress, then that's great. But see, like, taking the kids down to the Champions League games, that's brilliant. That's always my highlights if we're able to do it, even in the European nights. So that's why I've been positive about this year, because we had a right good run in Europe. We had a good experience. And I know we didn't get through we didn't win like a knockout round kind of thing. We didn't get through a knockout round. We still got to the knockout stage. And the fact that we were comfortable enough as walking through it, it's not as if we were going, "Oh, we're going to try and sneak a wee point here and then we can get through in the last." No, I mean, I think we've done it with like a game to spare. So it was a good feeling going, "Aye, that's right, we're Celtic." No, I mean, like, you feel as if like people, when you always think about what people are looking at when they're in the other countries in Europe and going, "They're Celtic, strong," you know what I mean, doing well here, rather than just kind of, oh, that's Celtic again who are getting beat or whatever. So I feel positive.
I agree. We did, this year, for me, it felt like we didn't just go there to make up the numbers. We probably competed this year. You know, take Dortmund out of the situation. But, I mean, the rest of them, for me, I know you'll get onto them, PJ, about highlights, but for me, it was against Leipzig. I just thought the performance was absolutely unreal. First 5-10 minutes, okay, fair enough, we were a wee bit cagey. After that, but that's us playing, I think they finished second in the Bundesliga. Absolutely phenomenal performance. And Kuhn, for me, that game was
Coming of age.
I was outstanding.
Yep.
He was absolutely outstanding. So that's a massive highlight for me. But it just showed that we could actually go and compete against teams like that.
Go toe-to-toe.
I
Bundesliga.
think the one thing we need to acknowledge is that we were due a wee bit of luck. The draw was kind, because I went to a meeting the day the draw was made, and I come back into my phone, and my mate says, here's the draw, here's the teams, because obviously it's a new format as well. So everybody was a wee bit unsure at the beginning how this was going to work out. So, and honestly, it took me a while to work out who's the two top seeds in there, because you're looking for like Juventus and Liverpool, or you're looking for Bayern Munich and Real Madrid or something like that. And I'm thinking, we've won a watch here, because normally we get hit with a Paris Saint-Germain, Barcelona, Real Madrid, and for the first time ever, we come out with teams that, they're still quality teams. But they weren't quite the top ranking ones.
You gave yourself a chance, you know what I mean?
Exactly, and I think when everybody saw that draw, they thought, but was it 24 teams that went through?
Yeah.
And because it's this big open, it took a while for, you don't think it took a while for people to get into the new concept and work it out. This is good. And the other thing I think helped us as well is, you remember a few years ago when it was the 4-team group and you played home and away. But the first game we lost 5-0 to Paris Saint-Germain. So you just knew when you were going to Paris it was going to be, it's going to happen here. So even if you get beat 5-0 by Paris Saint-Germain, that's gone. You're not playing them away. You just move on to the next team. And I definitely think that the new format helped us.
I agree with that. See, if we go back to 2021, I was just thinking about this today. We're chasing Eddie Howe, we don't get him. And then obviously we had a backup plan. No, we didn't. But they claim that we did. And the backup plan was Ange Postecoglou, right? 2021, Enzo Maresca was also in the conversation. both those managers won European trophies this season, right?
Yeah.
So Ange wins the second tier and Maresca wins the third tier. And a lot of people coming into the show and commenting on our shows talking about, oh, I wouldn't mind a run in the Europa League, you know. I'm dead against it because that means you've failed in the Champions League.
I know.
I would much rather always be at the top table. You're not going to get to the semis, you're not going to get to but you're competing with the
Do
best.
you know what's really annoying me is the fact that we do go into the Champions League and you might win 2 games and draw 2 games and your coefficient wise the points aren't great, right? And yet Bodo Glint have got a coefficient, I think it was looking the other day, at 60. You know what I mean? Because they're having these great runs in either the Conference League or the Europa League. And I think UEFA need to look at it and say, well, see if you're beating Leipzig and you're beating teams of that calibre, maybe you should be getting 4 coefficient points rather than 3. And then the conference one below that, you maybe be getting 2 because you're playing teams of a certain calibre. And when you're in with the big boys, then there should be an acknowledgement that you get a wee bit extra for any results you get, and the coefficient's holding us back. I mean, we were sweating at the weekend there for Croatia Zagreb winning the league against Rijeka or something like that. Because if we don't get seeded, you get a better class of opposition, and the chances are we might not even get through.
Absolutely. You see, when Rodgers comes back, I don't know where you were in terms of acceptance. I was right on the Rodgers train, straight back off the bat. Forget everything that happened. Success. We don't need an apology. But the one kind of blot in his copybook was the Champions League performance, his first time round. Do you think he's put a lot of the doubters to bed, Paddy?
I don't know. Like, I didn't want him to come back, to be honest with you. I wasn't thrilled about him coming back. And so then I it's not even as if I kind of warmed to him or anything like that, because it was maybe a personal thing that I felt, so it wasn't even really to do with football. So I kind of thought, right, I'll just draw a line under that and just think of it. This is a man who's in doing a job, and as long as he wins games, then that's fine. That's all we need him to do. So probably a bit of the kind that Brendan Rodgers is one of us. I've never felt that again. But at the same time, as long as he's winning games, then he's doing his job, and just as long as, the guy who's now moving the motors into the parking spaces is doing that, he's doing his job. It doesn't mean I need to like what he's doing or how loyal he is to Celtic. So I don't think he's I think he's the kind of fortunate enough run, as you were saying, Stevie, with the draw we got. And he's still, I think he's got it up his sleeve to embarrass us in Europe or not, to be honest, to go toe-to-toe. What was it, Barcelona or something like that, we went toe-to-toe and we could be up to 7-0.
But you forget the first game against Borussia Dortmund.
That might have been, was that Ange or him?
That was Brendan.
And then
PSG
Dortmund. So I just feel as if he'd be a wee bit, sorry Steve, I just feel as if he's maybe, I think he seems arrogant.
But if Ange is still there, does Ange go on that run? The way the style that he plays, the run that we just went on in Europe, the style that Ange plays, does he change things up? Because Brendan did after that Dortmund game. You take on Atalanta and we defend, right? Which is something that Brendan even says. Oh, when he first came back, my style of football is similar. It's very similar to Ange, so I'm not going to change much. And I was thinking, well, you're better in Europe.
Yeah.
Because we need to. I don't think, listen, Ange went on a brilliant run there in Europa League and obviously won it. Terrible final, but won it. But I just don't think with that Celtic team, I don't think he would have changed it. I think that there's teams in there like Bayern Munich, we would have got absolutely slaughtered if we played Ange ball.
Yeah.
Genuinely.
It would have been entertaining, Mark, but
Great.
we have got any further. That's a great
I don't think
discussion.
we got to the stage that we got to. I think Brendan is more tactically minded, maybe, than I'm not saying he's a better manager, but for me, I don't know. Ange's got one way of playing football, really, and it's attack, and to do that against some of the teams like Atalanta, I don't think we would have got the result that we wanted.
Got a picture of pieces, eh? Be interesting if we meet them next season in the Champions League. Ange versus Brendan. Other high points you've got to remember: winning a double. I've said this many times, Stevie. The first season I started going to the games, 87, 88, they win the centenary double, and I'm thinking, this is what it's all about. This is what you get every season. Very quickly realised that wasn't the case. And it wasn't until Martin O'Neill's time that we started regularly winning, not just the league, but doubles and trebles. So we come away. What does it say about us, Stevie, that we're disappointed at the end of the season where we've won a double? Because the standards and expectations have risen, haven't they?
Absolutely. When Rodgers has started that in 2016, but when he won the treble, and then the next treble, and then Lennon took over, and all that sorts, and Big Jan's took it on as well. So there's two ways of looking at it. It's very good for Celtic, and the Celtic fans, we're all dead happy. In fact, obviously we're all gutted that we didn't win the cup and do the treble, because trebles don't. I was going to say trebles don't. It sounds a daft thing to say, they don't come about that often. We've won something like 5 of them in the last 10 years or something like that. But in terms of the Scottish game, it's maybe not a good thing that we're dominating it so much. But I think the difficulty we face is in the Scottish. I've got a pal that's a Man City fan, and he says that when they go to Old Trafford, or they go to play Arsenal away, or they go to Anfield, the Man City will play a European game. They'll sort of play it and hitting the break, even though they've got brilliant players. And yet, in the Scottish game, we just play hell for leather for 38 games.
Yep.
Doesn't matter who we play, we just go for broke. So when it comes to playing a better class opposition in Europe, we're often tied there, and we can't cope because we're not used to playing a defensive game. We can't practice it and perfect it in the domestic game. So when we get into Europe, we often get turned over. What you're talking there about the Paris Saint-Germains, the Barcelonas, the really heavy defeats. And what impressed me about Brendan this season was that when the first game, the first away game, we get beat 7-1 with Dortmund. I thought, he's not learnt nothing, right? But in fairness, the Atlanta game came and backs to the wall stuff, and we got through that. And even in Zagreb, getting a draw in Zagreb is a decent result. But I felt that on the night we could, if we'd have tried. In the second half, they were there for the take.
Yeah, that game in the Bruges game, you kind of felt we might have got a win. It's interesting though, Stevie, you're talking there about how we don't have to adapt domestically, and you're right. But last season, we weren't getting the results against Rangers, and we didn't adapt and we didn't change. Mark, it's like you're asking yourself, you said about Dortmund, has he learnt a lesson? Have we learnt a lesson about playing Rangers?
Exactly. That's the thing. I know you're saying there about, obviously, we can't be disheartened. We won a double this year. Do you know what I mean? It's been a successful season. We went on a good run. But for me, this season, I think Celtic have been really inconsistent this season. I think with some of the football that we've played, sometimes it's been unbelievable. But you're going on about Rangers there, and I've said it all the way through, said it on my TikTok, said it, and then it depends what Celtic team turns up.
Yeah.
Now, that was evident when we played them in the Cup final, in the League Cup final. The first half, we didn't turn up. Second half, we came out. When we went to Ibrox on the 2nd of January, we just didn't turn up at all. Then we took them back to Celtic Park. We didn't turn up in the first half. Second half, it only looked like one team was going to win. It should have been us. So it's been really inconsistent, especially when it comes to Rangers. And it was getting to that point with me, I'm thinking, maybe Rangers are just a wee bit better than what we thought they were. But I don't think so. I just think Celtic at times have been, when they're on it this season, when they played this season, when they were on it, no team could touch them. They were absolutely unreal. But when they didn't turn up, which seemed to be, we were a one-half team for quite a lot of that season, I felt. I felt the first half we just couldn't get the wheels in motion, but the second half we kind of got a rocket up our arse and we came out and we performed better. Which going forward into the new season needs to be sorted there, because we can't be doing that. We can't be doing that against Rangers, because we make them look better than what they really are.
Without a doubt. It's a footnote in a season, Paddy, but it is the derby game. And, when Brennan came back, he had a tremendous record against Rangers. And then they seems to have sussed us out. But we don't change our approach to it. So like you're saying, the 3-2 game, getting the fright of your life in the first half, managed to pull it back. But you're thinking, why didn't we start the game off the way we started the second half off?
Aye, I know. It's one of the things, like, I don't have the answer, obviously. You probably don't either, but it's one of the things that I think's interesting to kind of look at it and see how it plays out, because I think there's obviously the background of it is Rangers have been on the ascendancy, because obviously they were on their backside there, they were out the game, literally, and then obviously just kind of coming up through the leagues again. So they haven't been as strong when Brendan was here before, and then they're obviously stronger now, but don't get me wrong, I don't think they're great now, but at the same time, they've obviously upped the game to play Celtic. They've been watching Celtic, and it's probably been like the way we've treated the Champions League games, where we're on it, and the scouts have been out watching the game, watching the team, watching how they're setting up. So then Rangers would drop points to like random teams, but then obviously take points off of us.
Yeah.
Probably because they've been putting a lot of effort into researching that game, and then on the day itself, it's like a kind of a cup final for them. Do you know what I mean? So, but like that's the way it is. Like obviously we slag Rangers and all that, and it's good crack and all that, but at the same time, it's then that you get tested because we'll always drop points away to Aberdeen or whatever, or away to somebody or whatever, just as a wee kind of hiccup. But the proof of how we're doing, I think, is how we do against Rangers domestically, and then obviously Champions League or whatever European games we've got, because we should be winning and we will win just about all the games, the rest of the domestic games. So I think we should probably look at the Rangers games and see, right, how are we actually doing? And obviously that wasn't great.
It's interesting when you can win a league by 17 points, lose 2 games to Rangers and draw with them in the league, Mark. I mean, you know, they have sussed us out, and it's like, is there a disrespect here? Is there a bit of complacency where it's like, we'll just play Rangers the same way we play St Mirren or St Johnstone, and we'll steamroller them? Because it's not really happened, is it?
No, I mean, I agree with you. I think it's looked like that at times. I think when we turned up to Ibrox on the 2nd of January, I think even Rangers supporters thought we were just going to go in there and steamroll.
Yeah.
And it didn't happen. So Celtic just got really complacent, but they were shocking. They didn't turn up the full game. Whereas the last few games, I thought the cup final, the first half, Rangers were a bit better. And then I thought the game at Celtic Park as well, I thought Rangers were better. The first half, Celtic came out, but that game that's for me a massive low, because we just didn't turn up. And as I said before, we've made Rangers look better than what they really are. I just generally don't think, and people turn around and say, it's just because it's a supporter. It's not. That club's got massive problems, and they start from the very top, not just on the pitch.
Definitely. And they're 17 points behind the champions.
No, I know, but I do think, like, football's football. It's about pitting more. It's about the goals you pit, the goals you score. So I think, like, if somebody says, it was they didn't deserve to win, you go, but they did deserve to win because they won, because football's putting the ball in the net, and that's what they done. It doesn't matter about now how much your players are worth or how well they passed the ball. So I got it right. So I do think, like, I don't think we should be now complacent or write them off and say, they're rubbish, because then if they beat us, then you go, well, we're even worse then. Do you know what I mean? That kind of way, because when it actually comes to the difficult games, we've maybe been more consistent, but when it comes to a difficult game, if we're dropping points against them, then they've probably been doing better than us when it actually matters to us.
If it was a title race, that's when you start to worry about these games, big time. Another low for me during the season, we get very attached, even as adults, to individual players, and they should know better in the modern game. They're just passing through, right? Kyogo, you think he's signing off with a hat-trick in the Champions League against young boys, and all 3 goals get chopped off in the first half. Unbelievable. And we win the game 1-0. And memories of Tiger Tim, Stephen, going back to the last time we played that same team.
93.
Yes, it took us 2 games plus extra time to beat them. Tiger Tim makes a comment.
An own goal that won it that. It was funny enough, that was ironic.
Was it Bowman?
Yeah, aye.
Something like that.
Aye, Bowman.
And the guy that used to do the Tano, he got sacked that night, Tiger Tim Stevens.
That's right.
Poor guy.
He was, what he did was, he said it was half time, and he says, we've got a real sad announcement here. He says, we're going to have a minute's silence, and people are thinking, who's died? You know what I mean? Maybe one of the ex-players has died. And he said, minute's silence and Rangers had played the previous night in the Champions League qualifier and get beat, and that was them out. And he says, minute's silence for Rangers getting put out of Europe, and the whole place went mental cheering. No, that was how desperate we were in these days. But it was a funny moment. But they sacked him.
I know that was harsh.
It was harsh.
I remember that. Because then, was he on the radio already, or did he then go into the radio after that?
He was a legend already by being a DJ in the 70s. Tiger Tim, so he was a big
good. He was a good guy, and everybody liked him. It's not as if, like, it was a random guy who had a shady past. He was good. I thought he was good.
Took themselves too seriously, the board back then. I mean, I know you've got to, you're running a football club, but you've got to have humour as well.
The at the time was we were so strapped for cash, they were looking for an excuse to basically sack anybody.
Is that right?
And you know, that I don't know how much he was getting, but man's been that much. But I suppose when you're skint, any savings are saving.
That's poor. That's poor. I was talking about Kyogo. We got onto Tiger Tim Stevens there, but Kyogo, I mean, I've said this before, like, people in my boys' age loved him. He was like a wee caricature. Everybody loved Kyogo.
I forget what he gave us
Stevie.
in the early years. I mean, see, when Ange, what frustrated me about Ange was that when he eventually left was, see, for the first, you had August, September, October, probably into November, we could see what he was trying to achieve, but you know, in that way, if it wasn't for Kyogo carried the team in terms of his goals, his enthusiasm, his the way that he buzzed about the pitch, and as you said there, he was like a wee cartoon character. He was so photogenic. Everybody loved him to bits, and I think he deserved better than the way that he left. He never got a chance to say goodbye to the fans, and you know, that really hurts and upsets me, because I think we didn't get a chance to show our appreciation for what he gave us for 3 years.
I know. I thought he was a tremendous ambassador for those 3 years, and I know it was only a short period of time, but he represented the club. I mean, we used to laugh when he was picking up the rubbish and, you know, helping, like rubbing injuries up opposing legs and all this kind of stuff. But he left and we didn't replace him. And I know we brought Jota in, but we ran for the rest of the season one-man shot up top, and I think that was a big error.
100%. Do you think we missed him?
Big time.
I think so.
One chance against Bayern Munich, Mark. One chance. And you think, maybe?
Because it's a massive thing between people, and you say, no, but we got Maeda, and we didn't miss him. I beg to differ.
Magic.
I agree with you.
I think we missed him.
Look at the cup final chance Maeda had. There's no criticism of Maeda, as Paul said there. He's carried us for January onwards, and he was doing the work of two men. And you know, you can just imagine Kyogo nicking in and goal there, and that wasn't in net.
Was it the end of the game? Wasn't it? One at the end of the game.
You didn't get changes as well, did you?
I know. Kyogo probably would have kept going, but you would have. I don't know. I just thought that was kind of harsh, because he'd been now running his.
But it's not a criticism of Maeda. It's just
no, I know what you mean.
The funny thing about Maeda is that he scored 32 goals. I still don't view him as an actual goal scorer.
No.
You know what I mean? I know he plays through in the middle for Japan, but I never at any time got the feeling that he was going to be funny enough the way it turned out, 32 goals in the season. And I still think that Rodgers next season will look to get a striker and put Maeda back in his left wing beat, but where I think he performed best.
I think it just blows my mind how we didn't get anybody in that transfer. They obviously know Kyogo's going, and we can't get another striker in. And it's almost just like, well, we know we can play Maeda through the middle. So, to me, that's not good enough.
No.
You're not losing your best striker and not replacing him. And I think you could see that with Brendan. He was a bit, he's not the guy that gets it over the line. He just tells him who he wants, and there's other guys that go and do that. And you could tell by seeing his press conferences. I think it was like the Friday after or something, his press conference, and you could tell he wasn't happy about it.
Because it's just tiny margins at times with these games. You look at the Bayern Munich, the two-legged affair with them, and what would they have given you? Might have given you that bit of quality we needed. You're saying there, Mark, about us knowing that he was going to leave. 100%, because we spoke, and you get criticised for saying things like this on Acsom or any platform, but we were speaking about Kyogo leaving in the summer because of the agency. Remember changing the agency? I mean,
that was a warning sign, wasn't it?
Big time. The agent wants to make money. And how do they do that? You get the guy the transfer. So we were talking about it in the summer. The club would have known long before us. It comes into the January. You must have somebody lined up. Even if it's an Adamida-esque loan, you must have somebody lined up. And we didn't sign a striker.
The Danish guy was meant to be the guy. I can't put it. Is it Kvizgar? And the other team wanted, I can't remember much, it was 10, 12 million pounds. We weren't willing to go in that. The irony is now that he's had such a good season now that he's probably out with our
They're
budget.
talking about him again, aren't they?
Well,
Talking about him for getting him this season.
That's my point, though. Like because we rather than just paying the money in January and being done with it, and then you're prepping for this season as well. So it's forward planning. We didn't do that, and we fell off. And whatever they were wanting in the January window is rocketed now, and it's probably with our.
So we're going to spend all season next season, Stephen, still talking about overpaying for the likes, because that's all we've heard all season about Ida and Engels. But yeah, big disappointment losing Kyogo. Obviously, a big disappointment losing the Scottish Cup. Paddy, where did it all go wrong? The $1 million question.
What, like on the park? I don't know. Like I'm
It's a
not
bit
really,
flat, wasn't it?
I'm not really I don't know. I don't analyse it in that way. Like I'm more a kind of guy. Just my whole approach to Celtic is more like the kind of bigger picture, right? And I'm not saying there isn't a place for analysing like the tactics and the players and whatever like that. But I think more about like how is the feeling at the club, how the fans feeling, what's happening with like relationships within the club, like with the board and the fans. So I kind of think about that, and I think I would be maybe probably, I don't know, maybe a bit of an optimist, where I go, I love it. Like, I love the say, like, I love that people say, obviously, like, clubs like Real Madrid or whatever, or Barcelona are more than a club and all that, and you go, all right, guys, but no, we actually are more than just a football club. And I think that's the thing that I always just kind of focus on. And I'm not trying to sidestep the question, but the answer is I don't know. But I'm no, as I said, it's not something that I would kind of lose sleep here and going, oh, where did it go wrong? What we got to do? I just think, right, if we got the right people in there that are going to be doing that, then I would be more like saying, what are other people no thinking about or no talking about? And I think that there's other things that I've been thinking about that are good and bad. So when you think about the highlights and the low points of the season, it would probably be things kind of off the field that I kind of think of that. Like, obviously the highlights are now, obviously as I say, the Champions League games, Champions League nights at Celtic Park, and you're buzzing and the family's involved and you're all buzzing about it and you're thinking about where we're standing and now people looking at us kind of hanging in the great atmosphere and all. And the tifos I love, obviously, the tifos and Renegade tifos, the boys do great work and all. I love all of that. That then when you're going back and watching the game or listening to people are seeing things on the internet that people are saying about Celtic, I love that kind of thing, and I'm dead positive about it. But there is obviously a few things, as I said, that I would think should be probably, or could do with a wee bit more work, like the board and the fans having a bit more a
connection.
a bit more a connection, a bit more a relationship. And instead of kind of playing out in the papers or playing out as a kind of, I think the board score on goals all the time, instead of just kind of bringing people in and talking to them, saying, what do you think? Right, okay. I don't know if they would be better doing that, I think, rather than people resenting them or people that kind of, I think there's something going on, can I? Sorry, I don't know if I answered your question there, but I'm probably not the man to ask, where did they go wrong? Like that we kind of fell away in the second half of the season. But that could have been, Ida wasn't great, Cool goes away, Jota getting injured, and then I just kind of pull it on.
I just think it was far too many, you're talking about the Scottish Cup final, far too many individual performances that just weren't at the races at all. Completely from start to finish. It was flat. So if you were a neutral watching that, if you got past the first half, you were doing well. It was a boring game. I don't care what anybody said. It was brilliant for Aberdeen because they won. They were going to say it was an amazing game. The game wasn't. It was amazing that you won. It wasn't an amazing game. The game was really, really poor. So I'm with you. I mean, I don't know where it went wrong because all I hear all the time, the lineup was wrong. That lineup that was there should be enough to beat Aberdeen. Simple as that. Now, I agree with some things. I don't think James Forrest should have been left out. I think that since he's came back and he's been playing, he's been brilliant. When he came on, I thought he changed the game. He drives at defence. That's what you want. With Kuhn, we're not seeing that with him. There's been a massive drop-off with Kuhn after the Bayern Munich game. I think we can all agree with that. Yeah. So I didn't see why James Forrest should have been left out. Now, would have James Forrest won the treble for us? Possibly not, right, if he'd been playing the whole game. But he would have gave us a wee bit more up front that I didn't think Kuhn has been giving us since the turn of this year anyway. So I didn't see why you need to play. Then you can talk about scales as well. For me, as you were saying earlier on when we came in, we're kind of relying on scales. But why are we relying on scales? We've got Narosky there. Every time he's played, for me, he's been fantastic. He's been brilliant every time he's played. So I don't know what's going on between Narosky and Brendan Rodgers, or he's not performing on the training ground, or his attitude. I don't know what it is. But every time that he's played for Celtic, for me personally, I think he's been fantastic. So I don't know why he didn't start the game. Again, Cameron Carter-Vickers, just for me, wasn't at it. I don't say that lightly because Cameron Carter-Vickers is unbelievable. Callum McGregor, for me, that game wasn't quite at it. Callum McGregor's phenomenal all the time. Very rarely puts a foot wrong. So I don't know. I think it was just loads of individual performances. They looked like a team that was they were ready to go on the holidays for me.
It's like a game too far.
Craig Taylor was the only one that really came out with credit, I think.
100%. I agree with you. 100%, Steve.
The thing that really got me was that we played Aberdeen in the semi-final in November in the League Cup.
Yeah.
and it was 6-0 in own 10. They could have been double figures that day, absolutely destroyed them. And you're thinking, so why do we do that? Don't get me wrong, Aberdeen have obviously tactically had a look about and we can't let this happen again. So I don't take much notice of the opposition formation per se. But I heard in the radio on the way to the game that they were playing a back five, 3 centre backs, and they had 2 full backs. So it was clear at that point that they were going to defend deep. So it was down to Brendan to come up with a formation or an idea that was going to break them down. And what absolutely kills me about the current Celtic team is we move the ball from left to right, right to left, and we got this sort of horseshoe thing, and it goes like this. And the number of times that the ball gets to the edge of the penalty area and the crowd go, shoot, right? But they don't, and it's almost as if they've been coached to the nth degree and to just pass, and that's becoming to our detriment now, because Celtic teams through the years, back to the Lisbon Lions, you've got Murdoch, and then you've got going a generation, you've got Murdo McLeod, and then Stan Petrov, Alan Thompson, they can all hit a ball just edge of the penalty area. Even David Turnbull a few years ago,
yes,
when he wasn't the best player, but you just knew when he get the ball in a certain area, he's going to pull the trigger here and shoot. And you don't shoot, you don't score. So it's really becoming frustrating to me how Brendan, as much as I love what he's achieved and all that, it's some of the games towards the end of the season, but we're really becoming bore-fest because we were having 70% possession, right? But we're only scoring goals.
Yeah.
So that's been good to you.
I don't know what you think, Steve, or any of these guys, but I thought Hatate was massively missed.
Yes.
Just his killer ball to break the lines. There was none of that. There was none of that against Aberdeen in the final.
The creativity. You could point to the injuries of Jota and Hatate, absolutely. But I agree with you, Mark. That team that started the game has to win the game. Going back to your point, I think first time round we lost a lot of players who were scoring goals outside the box for Brendan. Guys like Moussa Dembele, he would score from outside the box. Lee Griffiths, his form fell off the edge of a cliff. He could score. And sometimes when you're playing a packed defence, as we were against Aberdeen, and most of the teams in Scotland, all it takes is somebody for long range. But we have lost Matt O'Reilly who could do that.
Yeah.
You have lost Kyogo who was doing that. We've seen Jota doing it, and all these guys were missing. But you don't expect Kasper Schmeichel to make that mistake. No. You don't expect your captain to miss the penalty. You don't expect Maida to miss the 1v1. It was just one of the days where it all stacked up.
Any other day, do they?
Yeah, all on the same day.
Did you not find it interesting though that allegedly Aberdeen, when it came to the penalties, then they went to Schmeichel's right side because his right shoulder has been injured and he's maybe not 100% fit. And even when I was watching the penalties, I thought, that's 3 penalties they've put in that in the same corner. It never occurred to me until I read it online, and somebody says that the Aberdeen players had commented that, I've certainly commented that the coaching staff had said, when you're taking the penalties, put it to his right hand side. And even the goalie went down in his right hand side, and you're thinking, is there pain there?
That's a great point.
You know what I mean? Because
see, after the goal, right, because it was so out of character, right? And you go into that extra time period, and we've taken off 2 penalty takers,
Yeah,
we've taken off Engels and Ida, right?
Forrest as well.
Aye, and James,
To take a penalty.
and you're looking at it going, would it have been controversial to take Schmeichel off before the end of the extra time and have a fit goalie in for the penalty shootout?
Yeah. That there's been a precedent down in England a few years ago. Do you remember that they spoke the goalkeeper for a shot? And I think they ended up winning it.
And then Rodgers would have been a mastermind. Would have been sitting here going, what a manager.
But listen, take that away from their penalties. And if we 2 goalkeepers,
They were awesome. They were awesome.
I think I know, like, Aberdeen obviously done well. They obviously done better than us to win the game. But I think, like, people will say, oh, Aberdeen, aye, that's non-football and all that. But there isn't a level playing field, because Celtic are spending so much more on players than they are. So it's no surprise, like, that they're going to turn up and try and snuff Celtic out, but not really create too much themselves. We just keep Celtic at
We
bay.
would do that in Europe if we played Real Madrid or Barca.
You do that.
But what's they call it, part of the bus? And you try
do that in a fight. You're fighting like you'd start at the back, fling bricks. But I'm not going to go. Not I mean,
I'd lock myself in the toilet.
I'm going to shout. I'm going to shout abuse at him for away at the back. I'm going to try and launch bricks at him and it's not a great fight. It doesn't make for a great fight, but at the same time, you're still doing whatever you can do, and you're going, well, we go toe to toe and say, no, here's what we'll do. Yeah. So I think, like, I always think that we kind of overanalyze, from my opinion, overanalyze each game of Celtic, and then you look at Celtic and you say, what did we know they right? But at the same time, Aberdeen obviously got it right.
But surely Brendan must have known that. They know that they're going to play in a low block. They've gone and try and hit Celtic off the break. Because if they go toe to toe with Celtic, it'll be like the semi-final. It'll be like the semi-final. And by the way, that semi-final, that's when Aberdeen.
They're letting the lesson for the semi-final.
But that was an Aberdeen team then that they were saying that we're going to be competing for the title.
That was our first defeat of the season.
That's right,
We
aye.
beat them. So what's the phrase? We broke them. Like, people
They were flying. They were absolutely flying. But then again, in game, can you not change the shape? Because they're playing 5 at the back. Can we not go to a 3?
But this is the thing, isn't it? This is the thing with Brendan Rodgers. I'm glad you brought it up. So I was going to say that. In game, he never changes it. He never changes it in game. And I thought that when we played at Ibrox, he had times to take off. I mean, Greg Taylor, he should have took Taylor off at half time. But then he'd done that. No, was it Kuhn? He's done that when they came to Celtic Park. So he learnt from that. Like, Kuhn's not having a good take him off at half time, which was good to see. But he has to learn to change things in game. I never see it in game. It's just at half time. Okay, regroup, go back out, play this style of football.
It's always take off a right winger, put on the right winger, take off
like
move
for
forward,
like for like, yeah.
And you know, tactically, like is you were saying earlier, try go to your 3, or put an extra guy in midfield, or even put 2 strikers up front and go for broke. Try something different.
2 strikers up front. Remember those days, guys? Wow. You mentioned Kuhn. I want to touch on Kuhn because history tells us we sell our best players. It's just a fact of life. And this season alone, we've sold Matt O'Reilly. I think he played 1 game this season. Matt O'Reilly leaves for Brighton. Kyogo goes to Rennes. Terrible move for him. And obviously with that money, we reinvest it and we bring in £36 million worth of players. So we break even in terms of the transfers. But that generally is what we do. We sell players, and you can go back and you can look at obviously Jota first time round, and you know Abada, and you know if we get a big bid, we take it, don't we? And you look at this pre-season, and there's a lot of interest in a lot of the star men, and understandably so. You're looking at Maeda having the season of his life. There's going to be interest there. Again, there's other players that might or might not be at that cycle. Hatate, you know, he might have been at that point where it was good for him to move. And of course, Kuhn and Engels. There's been interest in these players. So of the 4, Paddy, can we afford to lose 2 of these guys?
I think as long as we're bringing players in, like, I don't really get attached to players, to be honest, because I do think, well, I just see it as them thinking, right, they're going to be coming to Celtic to move on. So, and rightly so they should. They're no Celtic fans. But if they're going to be moving, I would rather find out early, so then that way we can see about replacing them. Obviously, I would imagine the board will know and Brendan Rodgers will know who's probably going to be moving. But it's just as long as they bring somebody else in who's of the same calibre. But that is the problem, innit? You'd rather pay more, so see like Kyogo, you'd rather pay more to keep him here than bring in somebody else who you might know do as good a job as Kyogo. And obviously the rest of the players that we've said, like, if they're coming here doing really well and then getting a move, you go, hang on a minute, actually we want to keep a hold of you, and although you're on whatever 20 grand a week and you're wanting to move for 30 grand a week, well now you're actually a 30 grand a week player for us. Do you know what I mean? So although you were on 20 grand a week, that was less than what you could have been getting. I'm not saying say like we'd be able to afford what some of the teams would be able to afford, but it just would be good. I don't know, is there any way of doing that? Like, is there any way of just...
So difficult because, I mean, even if you look at how well we've done with the Japanese imports, we did buy 6 and 3 of them worked.
That's right.
So it's a 50% hit rate, Paddy. So if we lose it, we know they 2 guys are our top players from the 4 I've mentioned. People might argue about Engels at this point. But to bring in a top player is a lot harder, isn't it?
Aye. And then that, see if we moved on day 3, say like you're saying 6 came in and 3 hit the ground running, done well, and 3 moved on again. But did we lose any money on day 3? Or did we just kind of settle off for
Probably broke even.
So that's, I mean, it wasn't the worst. Instead of pinning all our hopes on some one player, maybe that is something to think about. I know, as if you bring a few in and one of them sticks, then that's good, and you're not really losing any money with the other ones. But again, I don't know, I'm not a specialist on it, but as I said, I'm not one of the ones that gets kind of, I liked Kyogo and all that. He seemed like a nice guy. He was good fun, photogenic and all that. But I wasn't like heartbroken when he left. I just thought, right, obviously he was always going to move. Who's now is either going to do it, or who's going to do it now, or are we going to bring somebody in? So I don't know if they're going to stay or if they're not. I would just be absolutely pure guessing. So I don't know.
Stevie, you got to a point at a young age where you didn't become attached because Kenner Reese left. And you realise at that point, if Dalglish can leave Celtic, anybody can leave.
Well, that's the Celtic JFK moment. Everybody
It is.
remembers. But for my generation, everybody remembers when they were when Kenny left. But you're making a good point there about players leaving. The problem that Brendan Rodgers has got, and any Celtic manager's always going to have, is it's really frustrating. Is every season, but we'll lose one or two. So if you're a Celtic manager, you never get a chance to build a team because you're constantly having to rejig what you've got. I mean, Matt O'Reilly, for example, the season before that, it was Jota and Starfelt.
Yeah.
So each summer that comes, we tend to lose one, if not two, of our best players. So it's really, really frustrating. Any Celtic manager, it's virtually impossible to build a team to do something notable because it's always like a period of transition because you're letting them go, but you're bringing the new ones in. Before you mentioned there, if I got my money back in Engels, I would sell him. I don't think he's suited to the Scottish game. I don't think he's a bad player. Very technical. He's got good control. He's a good passer. But the sad fact is he's no pace and he can't tackle, right? And people might think that's me being ultra critical.
But you're maybe right.
That's
That's done well in Europe.
That's
Done
right.
Champions League
When there's no less tackling.
Yeah.
So if I get the money back in Engels, I would let him go. And I think he'd be better suited playing in Germany. Well, he was German. Going to France or somewhere like that, or even going down to England, we get more time in the ball. The other one that's killing me is I watched Kuhn last season. I thought that boy will not be there long. He obviously had the gum problem with his teeth and things like that. And then at the start of the season, I looked at him and I thought, my God, what a transition!
Mm-hmm.
I mean, do you remember at the beginning of the season, we pumped Man City, we pumped Chelsea.
Dink.
Him and O'Reilly together were awesome. See if we could just have kept that. That's what I'm talking about. Building, we're never allowed to build. So I'm looking at Kuhn, and I thought he carried the team to the new year. Virtually every game he was playing, he was outstanding. And what happened to him after the new year? People are talking about, his head went down after we get beat by Bayern Munich or whatever. So I'm looking at Kuhn and I'm thinking, if you could get good money for him, he's replaceable, right? Because over the course of the season, he's been good, but he's not that good that you couldn't replace him.
I was trying to think who I was speaking to. John Collins. It was John Collins I was talking to. And
Stop name dropping. Stop name dropping.
yeah, me and John, we go way back.
Colin.
Me and JC.
Oh, was he asking for me?
JC, yeah, he was, Paddy. But the thing is, because as fans, I'm going back to a point you made, Paddy. I watched the game as a fan, first and foremost, and naturally, I'm no analytical. Sometimes I have to watch the game back to make points about what went wrong. And it's actually, it's a bit of an effort to do that because I just want to watch the game and enjoy it. So you then take it to the next level when you talk to the next player and then they just talk a different language about football. And John Collins, I says, we were just chatting away and I said, Kuhn puts me in mind a wee bit of Paddy Roberts. He used to love drifting inside and all the rest of it. And I was like, he's a player that I was really disappointed in that he never signed permanently. And John said, you know what? He had a ceiling with regards to his strength and his stature where he would never ever take it to the next level. And I never thought about it like that. I just thought he was an entertaining guy that scored good goals and took players on. He says, and Kuhn's the same. Kuhn's the same. And I never, again, when you look at him, he's wee. That's never going to change. That is not something he can add to his game. He's not going to add the strength and the power of running.
The pace that he's got though, and what really frustrated me in the cup final was the number of times you get the ball 1-on-1, I'm going, go outside.
Yeah.
And I know he's left-footed and the tendency is to cut in, but you've got to vary it. You know what I mean? If you're playing against a fullback, you want to go outside, inside, and so he didn't know. And he just refused to go outside the guy. And I wasn't sure if that was a confidence thing or, I don't know, I just couldn't.
No right fit. And then when Jamesy comes into the fray, the energy just goes right up and he's willing to go inside and out, dink the ball in. So
on the downside, though, that the boy Yang looked like a hab in the headlights.
by the way, Stevie.
My heart went out to him, you know what I mean? There was a time during that game, the longer the game went on, didn't he want the ball? No. And it was noticeable that the Celtic players were looking and going, well, again, and you can see the hesitation.
They lost confidence in him.
And
I'm a fan, but I've got to admit, I'm a fan of him.
You're in the young gang.
Definitely, I'm in the young.
Paddy, are you in the young gang?
Nah, I'm not really.
I am.
I'm not in the other gang.
I can see a footballer in there.
He's
I really
persevering with him, Marc. So there's something there. There's players in this squad that Rodgers has not persevered with. Nawrocki, you mentioned of him. Something's gone on there. He's not persevered with him. but he's persevering with Yang. There's something there.
Aye, there is. I believe that. I've seen that in him, and I know I get what Celtic supporters were saying. I get them a lot in the comment section. Every time I actually supported Yang, they would say, he's terrible, he's terrible. Okay, I don't think he's terrible. He's not consistent, right? He needs to get that level of consistency. And he was starting to get that there. He was going on a wee run.
When his girlfriend was over.
Aye. But then when he played in the Scottish Cup final there, I agree with you, he was absolutely...
In the wrong video, wasn't it?
But it's a bad day when you actually see the players and you can tell that they're not giving him the ball. And seeing that split second that somebody sees him and goes, no, the move breaks down. Because the Aberdeen players that have covered at that point, and then you're having to recycle the ball and go back away. So we weren't able to get any pace in our attacks. You know, like, everything was breaking down at that point.
When a player's not got confidence in his teammate, that's a concern. And he's running about, you do feel a bit sorry for him because he's got the brace on his arm and all this. So in terms of that, Mark, do you think we'll retain the 4, or if not, who's leaving the building?
I think we're moving forward. We know what Brendan wants. Brendan wants to progress in Europe. That's why he's here. He stated that plenty of times. He wanted to come back because he didn't like the way he left, but he wanted to progress in Europe. I think the only way to do that, you've got to try and keep... I know what you're saying about Engels. If you can cash in Engels, then I think it's probably a good idea to do that. But the likes of Rio Atati, for me, it's been quite inconsistent this year, but I know exactly how good a player he is and how good he turns other players. And that ball that he plays through the lines, and he's an unbelievable player, right? And he grabs the ball, the game by the scruff of the neck, and he goes for it. We need to try and keep him. We need to build the team instead of just letting players go, as you were saying before. It's all good to having these players, and we all know that they're great and they're going to move on at some point. But we all want to, as Celtic supporters, to progress in Europe. We made progression this season, so we need to go another level now. And to do that, okay, we've got money in the bank. We know we've got money in the bank. So why are we not just building on what we've got, getting a few other players in? I think, by the way, Vardy will come in. I think Celtic will get Vardy for some strange reason.
Like an experienced head.
I think he will.
What did you see now?
Is he 38?
Is he as old as that?
30, yeah,
Mind you, that's young.
He's a bit older, isn't he? He's about 38, 37. I might be wrong. Might be totally wrong, but I'm sure he is.
He's thinking about an experienced head to work with Ida and Kenny.
I think so, because he's played... I wouldn't say it was... I don't know if it's an easy option, but he's played alongside Brendan before. Brendan knows him. I believe that he's got a good head on him. He can play alongside sort of Kenny and stuff. We need a striker. He's obviously left Leicester now. Somebody was asking me, is it a good signing for Celtic? I think it would be.
If he's on a free, I can see it being a possibility. And the same way we get Schmeichel, because he adds to the dressing room and he guides all the younger players. But if they're looking for a free or whatever, then no.
No, I think it'll be a free. I think we'll get him on a free.
Celtic when they pay money at that age.
One thing I'm looking forward to, no one knows what's going to happen next season, but one thing that we are aware of is that Kieran Tierney's coming back, Paddy. And to be honest with you, because of the way his career's progressed, I still didn't expect him to come back to Celtic. And apparently he's had interest from other English clubs. He's coming back, and you think to yourself, hopefully he can finish his career here. But we need another left back on top of that, because Taylor's obviously not signed yet. Schloop's left the building. The left back position is constantly an issue. Taylor, for me, could be a good backup. What's your take on it?
Aye, Taylor's a backup, whatever, but aye, Kieran Tierney, I'm delighted of Kieran Tierney. I love a Celtic fan playing for Celtic.
Yeah.
I think that's underrated. And like, Nae Harney, Greg Taylor, and now whoever else that haven't been brought up Celtic fans, but see Kieran Tierney, seeing Kieran Tierney at the games. Remember, was he injured or something? He wasn't, and then he's at the game. He was at an away game, or he's at games with the Celtic fans and all that.
Yeah.
He didn't go with his directors, he went with the fans.
I know, that kind of thing.
That's true.
And for what people have said, like him, David Turnbull and all, now brilliant, down to earth guys, and I think we should be focusing more on that as a club, that we go, right, we're never going to be the kind of club. You would have to sacrifice too much of what we are to become the type of club like a Barcelona or a Man United or a Man City or something like that. And they've all sacrificed a lot to become what they are. Obviously, like when we're on holiday somewhere and you see somebody else with a Celtic tap, you go, look, when you wear talk to them and you know. Whereas, like, imagine a Man United fan, they'll see somebody else with a Man United tap.
That's in Malaysia.
A guy's fair in our country, never been to Old Trafford, doesn't know what it's about, but he'll say, oh, I'm a Man United fan. But obviously, you get some of them up here and on, you go, all right, aye. But when do you know what I mean? So you don't want to sacrifice what we've got and the feeling of closeness and passion that we've got to then become now a team who's going to win the Champions League or even get to the semi-final of the Champions League. You know, it will. If we're our club, the club that we love, and that we love the way that we are and what we've came from, then you want to preserve that. Then you can't. You would have to sacrifice too much to earn it. So that's what I'm saying about the players as well. See if you've got a Kieran Tierney who loves the club and knows what it's all about and will be doing work about the place. Like, he'll be going and playing football with kids. It'll be like a Tommy Burns kind of idea, where Tommy Burns would be, you would see Tommy Burns all over the place. You see Tommy Burns at MASH, you see Tommy Burns going with his, or people going with their grandchildren to their grandchildren's football and things like that, and you go, that's a hero, that's somebody that I could be, and it inspires other children to be like that player. I think that's what I would focus more on. So see like Kieran Tierney, or even like remember we missed it in McGinn, who's obviously a Celtic man, and but his grandfather was a chairman of Celtic.
Yeah.
He was obviously, that's the kind of thing that I would spend more money on getting in, because of what the club means to him, and I think you're then going to get more loyalty for them. Like we're saying now with Kieran Tierney coming back to us when he could go somewhere else, and they would probably stay with us longer. And I just more passion and more kind of closeness with the fans and the players and the whole kind of Celtic community.
What you're talking about there with regards to some of the big elite clubs, as they call them, is they've lost their soul a bit, haven't they? They really have, whereas Celtic have retained it. But you see, if we can't bring them through, and that's a problem, that's worth an hour's discussion itself, then the second best thing that you can do, Mark, is sign guys who are Celtic through and through.
Yeah.
You know, for the extra, they've got to be able to play, obviously.
Aye, and we've got to look more into the youth academy and stuff as well, and give these guys a chance as well. It's something that Celtic have always done, but I know you've got Johnny Kenny and stuff coming through, but we need to give these guys a chance. But I agree with you. I think the left back position has been a position for a long time now that's just been an issue. And fair play to Greg Taylor, he's kept people at bay many a times.
Yep.
Trying to get people in there on the left back position, but it's a tough one. I don't know what to do. I agree with you. I'm over the moon that Kieran Tierney's coming back. But I remember when he left, my son was absolutely devastated, howling and greeting, couldn't believe it. And I remember saying to him, listen pal, he'll be back. Didn't generally believe it. I thought he's going to go on to bigger and better things like Arsenal, big clubs, probably go out to La Liga or Bundesliga, and then we're never going to get him back. But I was trying to make sure that he kind of thought that we were going to get him back. So I'm glad, because I never thought that I'd see him coming back, and the fact that he is coming back, and as you say, I spoke to you with last time we were on the podcast, I've always gravitated towards like the Simon Donnellys of Celtic, the people who know what it's like. As soon as they put that green and white hoops around them, they go out there and they give their all. They know what it's all, and Kieran Tierney is that guy. He's been playing there his whole career at Arsenal with one shin pad with a Celtic badge on it and the other one an Arsenal one. He's Celtic through and through, and you're right. He'll come back and he'll run through a brick wall. But we also know that Kieran Tierney is injury prone, so we know that he struggles with injuries. So we have to get someone in the door. And I know what I'm saying, so I'm kind of contradicting myself that we possibly need to take people in from the youth academy. We do, but we also need somebody with a bit of experience. A Greg Taylor would have been perfect, but unfortunately, I don't think that's going to work out. But he would have been, for me, would have been perfect, and you can just kind of rotate them.
Yeah.
The interesting thing about Tierney is Celtic play the inverted fullbacks these days. You know, Johnson plays it brilliant, and Taylor is an auxiliary midfield player when he pushes into midfield. I don't think it's not a criticism of Tierney, but I don't think that suits him. Tierney is best is bombing up and doing that line, firing crosses. You know, defending 1 minute and then running 7-8 yards up the park and getting crosses in at the other end. So it'll be interesting to see if Brendan changes the shape of the team to suit Tierney's merits. Obviously, but when he took over for Ange, he looked at Taylor and Johnson and went, "Oh, don't change it. They're doing well." And but when I see Tierney, then I'm thinking, I wonder if we're going to change the shape of the team.
Possibly. Another 3 players of that quality would do me just fine. Well, gentlemen, hopefully you can come back and join us on A Celtic State of Mind. All that's left for me to say is, once again, thanks for joining us on Acsom.
Thanks very much.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks,
Aye.
yeah.
Brilliant.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us once again on A Celtic State of Mind. Join us next Friday at 6 o'clock for This is Acsom.